Thank you, Ben, for the invitation. When she talked to me about the schedule, and she said, I'm saving the best for last. I have to work with you guys a little bit, okay? This has been a long day. So I just want to spend a few minutes kind of share my perspective. And I want to introduce my guest speakers to talk about their perspective. And then you said, what are you talking about? Well, our conversation, I have the pleasure of coming to speak to this group 4 years ago. And this last year, I actually have a chance to meet with board of directors, talk about career management, what issues they're dealing with as an organization, and what issue potentially you are dealing with. And then put in the proper context, what we want to talk about today, really narrowly focus on the difference between what happened before COVID-19, what happened now, and how you, as Chinese American, can survive, I call it making it, in the professional and business environment. And I also said you need to break through to the ceilings and how to be successful. So we, as a panelist, group of panelists, have the conversation on what topic we want to talk about. This is a very wide-ranging, and also that what perspective they have. I think what we're going to hear is really the unique perspective as an individual and in the context of what they understand about you. But more importantly, in these conversations, we want to hear from you. So I'm encouraging you to prepare yourself to ask questions. And I would strongly suggest to you, frame the question in the context of this particular career management perspective, and then we'll go from there. Is that okay? And I want to check with the organizer, how much time do we have? How much? 10 minutes? 1 hour? What happened to the organizers? All right, 1 hour. Okay, I just want to get that correct. And I'm going to take my phone out to see. It's 4:40. We'll be done at 5:40, 5:35. Is that a good negotiation? 5:30. Okay, so I do want to respectfully thank the speakers. That for me is a great learning experience. I don't think there's a secret that you guys know I work for Department of Commerce, so my former boss was on and talk about all the interesting services they have added since I was there to help all the minority businesses, obviously including Chinese American, and we have some friends who are not Chinese American here also. But the unique difference that I learned when I started tenure in Washington is that we, as an Asian American group, do not have these access to these services, even in the context of minority business, because you don't ask for it. So, and my job for a long time is coming out to different part of the world, talking to you about these services you talk about. But I strongly encourage you, if you are interested in any of the service, you need to speak up, raise your hand, talk to me, and get information from the agency. And David, I want to say thank you to you for being so straightforward with you guys. I spent 10 years in Washington. No one actually talks to you because they are always afraid, depending on where they are, being shut down by their partners. So, and unfortunately, I don't have time to spend too much about my history. Yahweh, I was one of the people that came from Hong Kong 50 years ago because of the Immigration Act that allowed for 20,000 people from Hong Kong to come here, and I was very fortunate to be one of them. So my life here as a Chinese American is slightly different than you, but what I'm going to talk about is the experience I have over the last 45 years working. Sorry, I didn't understand one word that's coming out of your mouth, sir, about investment, because I don't speak Mandarin. With that, I'm going to open by invitation to some of my distinguished speakers. I have a tendency to talk too much, but today I try to control myself. I'm going to start with the lady first. I'm going to have a short presentation of Ricky. Ricky joined Equifax in September 2007 with over 20 years of experience in marketing, telecommunication, financial and risk analysis. As a leader of the global analysis team, Ms. Chan has demonstrated leadership and vision by delivering her team, leading them to technically in the past 8 years. Ricky's team is the embodiment of the data profession imperative in Equifax use SIS analysis. I don't even know what that means. But I'm sure from talking to her in our preparation, she had a lot of good things to say and tips that you got offered to you. But first, maybe first few minutes, talk about your background. And one of the things I encourage you to talk about is some of your one success story and one of your challenges. One that you have to, if you like, or I could give you the mic. What's your preference? Okay. Chinese are so humble, they want to sit down.
My name is Vicky Chen. My background, that's how I'm here, invited by Bing. Bing and I met in Georgia Tech. We were used to be from the same MBA program. And after that, I joined a small company, later on being acquired by Epsilon Marketing Services. So I was from the marketing background, building a lot of statistical models, marketing champions analysis, and then joined Equifax in 2007. That's right before the economic meltdown. And then ever since, I built up my career path to where I am today, coming from the global analytics, working with each country, and in the last 4 or 5 years, I'm dedicated in the US business. I'm leading across almost all the verticals, including banking and lending, mortgage, auto, insurance, property data, as well as what else? Almost across all the verticals. So I'm happy to be here. I can share my background, how to transform myself from the data scientist to be a strategic leader, really supporting $1.5 billion business in the United States, as well as influence total 3.5 business for Equifax. And George, do you want us to share our success story as well as the challenge? I would say my success story is really getting into this industry because, again, we were from the MBA background. We study about across everything, but we are not specifically focused on any of the majors. So my first job, that was right after 9/11. Remember how difficult it is to even find a job. And the jobs need to sponsor H-1B and green card, so on and so forth. So I was fortunate to get a role with a small business owner. What I mean by small business owner is that he is one-person company. I'm his first employee. And then he will get a contract from Bell South. Back then, it was called Bell South. And then so as soon as he went to all the meetings, he will bring back a lot of projects, and I'm the only one to fulfill all the projects for him. And back in that time, I didn't know anything about SAS or programming or anything, but I managed to learn self-learning and then get a coaching from him and really handle and help him to grow his business from just 2 of us into a company of 15, and then later on he sold the company, make a fortune, and then move on to a bigger role. So I guess that's how I started in this industry. And then getting to Equifax, really understand, trying to survive in corporate America is not easy. And then as many of you may experience, there's the cultural difference, there's the values they use in terms of each of the career progressing and promotion is very different from where we came from. But I could quickly adapt and really blending and fit into that environment and move my way up, in the past 15 years. So I was leading Equifax Women's Career Development Program 3 years in a row. And then from the program, we work on over hundreds of the female employees. And then I did the survey in the end. Across the 3 years time frame, we have more than 80% of the female being promoted at least one time. So that was quite successful and amazing. Amazing accomplishment in the past 3 years. And in terms of the challenge, I would say the biggest challenge for me is back in 2017, you must heard we have a major data breach. And then it really impacted the business a lot. We have all our major customers, the banks you all know, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase, all of the customers are really not happy to talk to us. And how we can work with them and really earn back the trust, that's a very challenge journey for me. I used to sit in meetings and just hear complaint, and somebody does not even want to talk to me unless there's a lawyer in the meeting. So we have to just go through a lot of difficult conversation, really working with them, making offers, really present, showcase the value for to earn back the trust. So that was the biggest challenge that I have.
So you could answer a question related to that in a minute. The conversation we have been as we prepare for the workshop was just that generally the Chinese American, we tend to kind of listen to each other. And I sort of encourage her to find people outside the community who care about the community and willing to offer advice and share their experience. And I do say you are successful. And our next speaker is John. You're not Chinese, right, John? He's the executive director of the Global Youth Ambassador Program. He currently serves as executive director of the Global Youth Ambassador Program and has global training and international travel with 600 high school students. He's also served as senior instructor, professor at the Suman College and teaches dynamic young women in political science department. Dr. Yi passion is to help teach, mentor young people. You got any young people out there? There you go. So obviously you don't have a Chinese American story, but I would love to hear about your success and your challenges. You want to come up here? It's up to you.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much, Bing, for the invitation to be here. I really enjoyed today's conference and hearing the wonderful dynamic speakers. So once again, I'm John Eves. I am the former chairman of Fulton County Government, largest local government in the state of Georgia. I represented for 11 years over 1 million people, interacted with 15 cities, oversaw a $1 billion budget, and as I pointed out, served for 11 years. And during my tenure as an elected official, traveled extensively, including to China twice. One of the times at the invitation of the Chinese government. I've also traveled to Taiwan. So I certainly have a great appreciation for the Chinese American community, as well as respect for China as a country. Along with my political experience and my passion for travel, I certainly have provided young people with the opportunity to travel around the world. And one of the countries that we've been to over the past 11, 12 years is China. And given young high school students, some of them, in fact, many of them, African American students, with the opportunity to travel to Beijing and Shanghai and Xi'an was a transformative experience. And currently I teach at Spelman College in the political science department. The last thing I want to say is I am here because I am the product of a Jamaican man 100 years ago who wanted to leave Jamaica to have a better life. He went to Panama first, he came to the United States second, wanting to be a doctor. Never became a doctor because of the challenges of growing up in a segregated South. But he made sure that his 11 children, along with his wife, made sure that all of them had an education, and they went to colleges and universities in the South. Taught their children and me the importance of education, love of family, respect, and giving to the community. I believe that those same values that my grandfather taught me are also present within the Chinese American community. So I am a product of the immigrant community. I also was taught to be able to get a part of the American pie, I had to fight for it despite challenges, discrimination. And I want to convey through my talk today that the Chinese American community has a number, has a potential for clout, has a potential of being engaged, and I just want to challenge you to step up. Dr. Liu, Mr. Liu talked very eloquently about voting. I'm going to talk about how you can get involved in the American system of government, get engaged, and make sure you have representation and make it easier for you to have access to the American pie. So, John Eves, and I'm looking forward to sharing and engaging with you this afternoon.
You can tell elected official because their voice project, right, John? So, next speaker. Actually, I don't know how to call him my friend because I had the honor of moderating another panel in Atlanta where Atar Khan, the Director of International Specialty Sales for Delta Airlines. Can I say that one more time? Delta Airlines. Delta Airlines. And I believe he has some colleagues in the background. He brings his own cheering sessions. So Atar Khan was appointed to the role of Director of International Specialty Sales in October 2020. Atar and his team are responsible for managing Delta's relationship with accounts specialized in Asia Pacific, Latin, and EMEA. That means South America. Thank you. Consolidated business within the United States. Atar and his team coordinate joint selling activity with partners Aero Mexico, Air France, KLM, Virginia Atlantic, Korea Air, and China Eastern. You're not Chinese, man. He is Chinese American. Oh, you have your mic. He brings his own mic.
George, you gotta swap the mic.
Okay, now it's working.
Yes,
Thank you, George. Appreciate that. So, no, I'm not Chinese American, but I'm delighted to be here. Long-standing relationship with China and my family, so I can tell you that I'm just like you. I'm an Asian kid who grew up in New Delhi, not far from China. My mother actually was in her young days practiced acupuncture. Which was, for those of you who may not know, was developed in the China and Chinese War. That's how acupuncture was developed. And before I even go into my background, I want to thank Daphne Huang, my Chinese colleague from Delta Airlines, who's in the back. Come on, Daphne, stand up. And she's the reason that we actually have a table out there and we can tell you all about Delta Airlines and our program. So thank you, Daphne, for being here.
We have a small medium-sized business.
So 谢谢 Daphne. But you know, so that's my connection with China from my childhood days. So I went to high school in New Delhi, college in Vermont, and the first question I used to get when I started in college in Vermont was, why did you choose Vermont from New Delhi? And my answer was, I did not want to miss the cows. So I spent time in Vermont, and then I joined the aviation business. So I've been there for a long time, 32 years, having worked for two other major global airlines. Now I'm with the best, Delta Airlines in Atlanta, Georgia. I've had the pleasure of living in Hong Kong.
You want to take this one?
I think this is running out of battery.
Yeah.
Had the pleasure of living after New Delhi, I've lived in Seoul, Hong Kong, worked a lot in China, in Beijing, in Shanghai, lived in Doha, in the Middle East, lived in London, lived in Puerto Rico. So it's not because I wanted to live there, it's because the CIA was chasing me. So that was one reason to keep moving, so that they couldn't find me. But really, I mean, I've enjoyed working and living in the world and learning everywhere. So that's been an amazing education. I'm passionate about mentoring others with whatever they need in terms of furthering their careers. I've always had mentees within the company in Delta Airlines. In fact, one of my colleagues that I work with closely is of Chinese descent. So lots of connection with the Chinese community. My daughter, who's 11 years old, actually is studying Mandarin since the age of 3. I see lots of Chinese writing in my house, believe it or not. So that's my connection with China and in this forum. So it's a pleasure and privilege to actually support anyone who needs help from those perspectives, and always available. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we had a conversation with the framework of our topic of conversations. I shouldn't use the same word as one sentence to it, but that's okay. I'm Chinese American, not British. So we have a set of questions we came up with, and by no means does that cover everything that was on your mind. So what we decided to do is I'm going to pose this question to some of the speakers, and then after that we're going to ask you to ask questions. So give us another 5 to 10 minutes, and then be prepared. And I know generally people are shy, but you get a gift if you ask a good question from me. I know you always been eyeing my pin from Washington. I got one for you. You ask a good question. Okay. All right. So we're going to start with you, John. This is one of the toughest of all. So, what is the current environment for Chinese or Asian American for professional or entrepreneurial success in the chosen career path under the current environment?
I think it's mixed. I think that as some of the other speakers have hinted at, there is a degree of bias, a degree of prejudice towards Asians in general and Chinese Americans in particular. A lot of it's driven by the political rhetoric from the top, president's office down to the state level, etc. So I think that there is a degree of negativity that's out there, a lot of misconceptions that are out there. But having said that, I also think that there are opportunities. And the one thing that the perspective that I have is, I think there's a great opportunity for the Chinese American community to become politically engaged. First of all, I believe, and I don't want to sound like I'm preaching, but I want you to sense my passion. Chinese Americans, like African Americans, like white Americans, like Arab Americans, you are American citizens. You have a right to be here. And even if you're not an American citizen, you're a legal resident. You have a right to be here. And I would encourage you to vote. I would encourage you to understand the system of government in our country. There's federal government, there's state government, there's local government. Local government consists of county government, city government, and school districts. The lady who spoke about her experiences in Gwinnett County, that sense that she felt attacked is unacceptable. Her ability to voice her concern and a right for her child to be educated is a right that every American citizen should be able to articulate. But we have to have a degree of political savviness. I actually invited, unbeknownst of this question, the chair of the Gwinnett County Board of Education. I told Bing about her, and she wanted to come, but she had a conflict today. So I believe that we as a community should get politically engaged. Vote for your representatives who reflect your values. Mr. Louis pointed out the importance of political contributions. You're not buying people off, but you are getting them, making an investment in them. So my point is, get engaged from a political standpoint. Vote, advocate. Don't necessarily just count the numbers, but make your numbers count. The Chinese American community in Gwinnett County, in Metro Atlanta, you can be involved, you can have a voice, you can be represented. Your interests, whether it's business or whether it's making sure that the trash collection occurs on time, can be affected by you being politically engaged. So my message to you is, don't discount the political process and engagement. Don't feel that just because you're a Chinese American that you don't count. You're an American citizen, you vote, and if you get involved and you advocate and you make contributions, your voice can be heard and it can have an impact.
Thank you. I spent a little time in Washington, as I said. I want to add one more. Once you make the contributions to any politicians, make sure you go in and say, this is what I need from you. More importantly, this is what my community needs from you. Okay? In Tennessee, I see is Chinese American, you may, a lot of Asian American, they donate a lot of money. All they really want is their freaking pictures. I could get that without donating any money. But once you donate money to a politician, make sure you go and tell them what you need. More importantly, what your community needs. Okay. So with that, before I get going, I want to thank Jim Yu. Jim, stand up a second. Now this is not a pay announcement, but he did buy me dinner yesterday. But Jim donated all the drinks to the volunteers and the speakers. Now you want a drink, you have to go there. But it's what's the name?
It's called 4.0 ice cream, Tracy the Loop.
Okay, thank you. So with that, I have a secret. Thank you. It tastes good. Tastes good. Next question I have. Sorry, I'm 69 years old. I have to do this. The virtual work environment is going to you, as you recall. The virtual work environment now is a standard in most corporate and business environment. Anyways, how to adapt, excel their career or business success in such an environment.
Thank you, George. That's a great question. So we have seen more Zoom calls, Teams calls, whatever you want to call it, Google video calls during pandemic. So I can tell you that I am in this new role in Delta for the last 2 years only because of the pandemic. I was living in Korea when the pandemic hit, and I had to return to the United States. So, I could keep my family safe and could be in an environment where I wouldn't have to worry about going to a non-English speaking hospital if somebody got sick. So that's why I'm in this role today. Now, luckily, I really love the role that I'm in because I have a very international team. I have almost every nationality you can think of that Delta flies to within my team. So that's good. But we were full of Zoom calls, Teams calls, all these calls that we did. But that doesn't mean that networking is dead. Teams calls and all these video calls are only just one part of the connection. So it's up to us, and especially I'm looking at all of the young people in the room that are looking to grow in their careers. It's very important that in addition to Zoom calls, you set up one-to-one meetings with people that are on those calls, not the same day, not the same week, but over time. And that's the only way you'll get to know them. Because it's no different on Zoom, Teams, or any video application to set up a coffee chat. And the coffee chat allows you to ask that person questions, tell them a little bit about yourself, what your objectives are. So that's on the networking in the Zoom environment or in the Teams environment or the video environment. But talking about networking, I want to go a little deeper. Just getting on LinkedIn and putting a picture and a profile doesn't mean that now you're networking. Getting on LinkedIn is just the beginning of creating a profile. The next step is that you want to become a thought leader. So you must find opportunities to be able to give your perspective during a conversation. So if somebody's posting on something, don't just say, I like it. It's not Facebook, right? It's not Instagram. It's LinkedIn. go on the conversation that's happening and give it your perspective. Write your comments to say, hey, great article, I think this. And that allows people to see who you are.
So that's, you need to let people see, you need to have visibility, you need to join the ACLT meeting, you need to get to know your president, your CEO, his leadership team, so that, over time, you have your own brand name identity.
That's a great advice, and I'll add one more to it. Not only should you go lunch with other people, you need to buy them lunch. In the same token that we talk about influence politicians with money, you not just say, you have to think of yourself. And I do, my job is really business coaching, not really career coaching. I do that on the side. But in business development, all the business owner, like Jim, is buying you drinks because he wants you to know about him, his company. And in the context of career, you have to look at yourself. A lot of people don't like the way I talk, but you need to figure out how you market yourself, with some dignity, of course. But spending some money is almost like investment in your marketing, and so on and so on. But I have to keep to my 5:30. We got 5:18 now. So we're going to open up for questions. Well, you can't even wait for me to give you an idea of what you're going to get. So, go for it.
Okay.
Any one of the speakers?
My name is Eterti, and I'm a middle manager in a software company. My question, in fact, is during this pandemic, a lot of people were working from home, and then we were post-pandemic, and companies start pushing people to come back, and this is not really welcome by the employee. Or most of the employees. So as a manager in between the corporate requirement and your employees' needs or their request, how do you balance or bridge their request so that we don't end up people leaving the company, which did happen, and also upper management, they are not happy.
That's a great question. In fact, we talked about that. So you get one of these pins.
Wow, thank you.
I think you should answer this.
I have no idea what the answer is, but I'll answer it. It's a great question, and I think the smart companies have actually found ways to have hybrid solutions. So they have allowed people to work from home if they need to. And what a lot of companies have done is they've given that decision-making power to their people leaders. And if somebody has either an aging parent that they need to look after, or they have childcare issues, or handicap issues, disability issues, then those leaders are making those exceptions for those employees. And that's what the smart companies have done, because they realize that 2 years is a very long time for people to not have that care, be responsible for that care, and then suddenly go out and find care. So it's not an easy return. So really the good companies have really gone and taken those right steps. Some companies have actually changed their mind about going back to the offices, right? So I think there's no one particular answer for your question, because it varies by company. And different companies have made decisions that work for them and their environment. So that's why feedback on that.
That's a good answer. So next question.
Good afternoon. My name is Sue Ann Hong, and I'm with the Center for Asian Pacific American Women. And my question is around, a lot of the perspective you shared was around individuals who can do things. I wanted to ask about what are your companies doing to address systemic issues around promoting and supporting women of color and Asian American women?
Thank you, Suan. I want to acknowledge Suan, which is one of my friends who I brought to the conference. She's Korean, but she's passionate about supporting Asian American women. And I encourage Ben, I think you guys want to talk, see how your two organizations can collaborate. So if you're interested in what she has to offer as a Center for Asian American Women, at least half of you should be talking to her. Okay? So You guys want to take this? Okay, we'll give you a chance. I want to go to one short time.
So in Aquafest, we have a lot of development programs designed for different type of the group, right? Women or Black, Hispanic, Asian, you know, a lot of resources that you can use. We also have a mentor system. We connect with the industry. We have cross-functional events that we can talk to the roles in the similar industry. There is a lot of coaching that you can ask for it. So you know, people just don't take advantage of that. You know, the company provides more than enough. It's just you know, you are willing to take it. You need to spend time. You need to engage. You are not just go there for one time and then hope this will, you know, come to you. No, you need to keep involved, engaging, and really take the leadership and opportunity to get benefit from it.
I'm going to move on to the next question. Okay, I got 8 minutes left. There's a hand back there.
There's a hand. All right, good afternoon. My name is Nicole. So my question is out there for any of the panelists, and that is, in the current environment, you know, right after the pandemic, everything is, you know, on the network working. What do you, as the mid-age management member, needs to change to work with these diversity of people? So let me give a little, you know, set the foundation. So I work for an American company, and I manage about 10 individuals, and they are 21-year-old coming out of college, 40 years old who are mom, and they might be Black, might be white, and they're developer, they're system analysts, and I have, let's just leave it at that. So I struggle. Every day I come into work, before I talk to any one of them, I need to sit back. Okay, this one, she's from Middle East, I have to be more patient. Or this one is coming out of the college, I have to be more aggressive. So I have to adapt, and I have to change, and it is really difficult. So I'm going to hear any one of you.
No, I'm going to get the professor to answer that question.
Okay.
Now, this is another really good question, and I'm not sure if I have an exact answer either. I teach, and I teach dynamic young ladies at Spelman College. And many times I think that their learning styles and their work habits are the same as mine was 30 years ago, and it's not. And I think the best thing that I do is I listen. And I try to remember what the objective is in terms of the teaching, or even in a work environment, what the objective is. Listen to them and try to make the necessary adjustments in terms of how I want them to get to where I want them to be. And so I know this is a very generic question, but I do think there's a generational shift in terms of experiences. I also interact with high school students, and I do some instruction of high school students. And the high school students in the classroom with high school students, I'm competing with the cell phone. I'm competing with earbuds in the ears. I'm competing with other things that they're stimulated and distracted by. And so I have to make an adjustment. So I think that the general response that I can give to you is, I listen to them. I don't lose sight of my goal, whether it's an educational perspective or a work perspective, but I have to figure out a different strategy for them to get there. So there certainly is a generational shift that's going on. And I don't even think, we talked a little bit about the pandemic. We don't even know what the impact the pandemic is having on the cognitive development, the work styles that people are doing, the level of commitment that they have. I just think that we're changing right now as a society, and you just do the best you can and listen and try to figure out how to motivate them to get to where you want them to be.
So I do know in my conversation and seminars, there's also one more issue within the Chinese American community is the generationally, us last generation that's come in, the folks like my kids and the younger one, we all communicate differently, and we cannot communicate with each other within the community because of the generation gap. It's something you should consider. I'm excited to see a lot of multi-level generation in this room, but ACP can consider talking about that among the members. How do we communicate with different generations within our own community? And then you mix that into the society, multi-generational society, me talking to young African American men. It's very difficult, right? Because we have to learn how to do that. Now I have to stay to my commitment. We got 3 more minutes. So what I'm going to do is just get each one of my speakers to give you one takeaway in this context. Is that all right? What's this out to do? Okay. One takeaway.
My suggestion is that go out of your comfort zone, set a goal, and every day you just walk one step away from your comfort zone toward your goal. And don't push yourself too hard, just one at a time, and then set short-term and long-term goal. Eventually, you will get there.
So I'm a political junkie, and my one advice to you is pick some government where you live. Meet your local representative, whether it's a school board member or a city council member or a mayor or a state representative. Meet that person. Share with them what your concerns are and try the best that you can to hold them accountable. I really strongly encourage all of you, all of us, to get more politically engaged. Make sure that your voice is heard. And the first step to making sure your voice is heard is to make some noise and meet somebody.
So we talked about networking, but get engaged in your community. That's the first place you can network. So get engaged in the local community, the larger, wider community, and travel. Because no one better connects the world than Delta Airlines. So.
Now that's marketing, I'm telling you. That's marketing 101. Every opportunity, mention your brand. And I want to help you out. Chicago, I'm a United person. I'm 40,000 miles away from 1 million. So I told him last time, I'm not going nowhere until I get my 40,000. But somehow, they arranged for me to come down in Delta. And I was almost on schedule. Thank you. So anyway, true to my words, we're 5:30. 4:30. We're early?
5:30. You did a great job on the time control.
Well, before I go, I just realized I gave pins to all the people who asked questions, but I didn't get pins to my speakers. So I do have 2 here. And this is my trick, by the way. And I have an occasion, I took 4 trade missions to China. And they all give all this great, wonderful gift. And the one gift the Chinese delegation was very excited about, the leader of it, is I took the pin off my lapel. It's a China-US friendship pin and pin it on. That's the trick that I learned. Always save the best for the highest person, and they'll remember you for a while. With that, I want to say thank you for your attention. I'm happy that nobody fell asleep. Michael, I was worried about you, but it's okay. So thank you very much. Back to the MC.
Thank you, George.